Welcome, 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 welcome. I can't say welcome enough because we have amazing people joining us. Welcome everybody who are joining us live in Zoom. Very, very excited. Welcome everybody who are joining us on Facebook Live. Always great to have you. And of course, this will be hanging out on Facebook Live on my Facebook page for those who might need to watch it again. So, formal welcome, everybody. Welcome to our show. This is my Sunday Goal Achievement Mastermind. It is brought to you by my company, Integrative Wellness and Development, LLC. It is not affiliated with any other organization or company. It is not meant, everything you hear tonight is not meant to diagnose, cure, or prevent any illness or disease or condition. It's strictly for education, and I'm going to be introducing you to someone who has helped thousands of people. And we're going to talk about, in particular, we're going to talk about a vision problem that unfortunately affects many, many people, probably thousands and thousands of people around the world, especially as we age, and that is called macular degeneration. But we'll be talking about other vision health challenges as well. So with that, I am going to bring out our guest. I'm going to pin him. And can everybody see Dr. Glen? All right, welcome, Dr. Glen Swartwout. I am so excited that you are here with us tonight and here with our group. Thank you so much. Dr. Glen is joining us all the way from Hawaii. So aloha, Dr. Glen.
Aloha. Nice to meet you all.
So excited you're here. Let me share my screen here because I want to tell the folks a little bit about you before we get rolling here. So here's my chance to give you some flowers here. So I'm going to share my screen. All right. Can you all see the screen? Can you all see that? Yes. Yes or yes. Okay. Here we go. So tonight's show is about seeing new hope for regenerating healthy eyesight. And just about everybody here on this Zoom call, and I'm sure most of the people watching on Facebook are very, very interested and concerned about our eyesight. I guarantee you that there is someone in every one of your families who is experiencing the challenge of a number of different eye health challenges, and in particular, macular degeneration. And so Dr. Glen is going to be speaking about that, but I wanted to tell you just a little bit about him before we get started. So I'm pressing all kinds of buttons here. As you know, this is a very buttony show. So let me tell you a little bit about Dr. Glen. Dr. Glen is the founder of Remedy Match. He's also the founder of Healing Oasis. He's a doctor of optometry, but he has decades of experience in natural medicine and naturopathy. He has spent over 55 years helping over 45,000 people, just like me and you, reverse some of the most difficult vision problems that traditional doctors said could not be helped. In addition, he has helped thousands with all aspects of their overall health and well-being, enabling them to enjoy total health and well-being. Finally, he has trained over 2,500 healthcare professionals in using his revolutionary approaches to using natural remedies and advanced treatment modalities to impact the health of their patients. He has also authored over 50 professional papers, books, and software programs, and many of you were introduced to his brand new guidebook, right? Seeing New Hope for Macular Regeneration, We're going to talk about that in a second, but you all have the opportunity of downloading that guidebook, and we will talk about that a little bit later. So let's get started. Dr. Glen, thank you so much. I have a whole bunch of questions for you, if that's okay with you.
Absolutely.
Hey, let's start with this. What is macular degeneration? Let's start with that.
Well, the first answer is it's the leading form or cause of irreversible blindness in our culture, according to all the medical textbooks from when I went to school and still now. Even though for the past 35 years, I've proven in my own practice that it is reversible, but it takes a long time to get new techniques, new information, especially when it's not from the mainstream of drugs and surgery, to get that into the mainstream thinking. So that's why we're here to get out the good news that there are solutions that are working very, very well. Virtually all of our macular degeneration clients now are showing improvement, not necessarily immediately. One case, a man who had just lost his driver's license due to vision loss with macular degeneration, within 1 month of our full individualized program, was able to get his driver's license back. In cases, it's in terms of recent clients, we've seen it take up to 3 years of individualized support to begin to see the regeneration, restoration of eye health, stopping of bleeding, decrease of scar tissue in the retina, restoration of vision. And that was with a woman who has lead pellets in her foot that the doctors, the surgeons don't dare touch because that could kill her. And so she has an ongoing source of lead toxicity. And when we say get the lead out to speed things up, well, it's a perfect illustration that lead blocks so many functions in the body. It's taken us a long time, kind of swimming against the tide
Sure.
So everybody's different, but virtually everybody, if they stick with the techniques and systems that we've developed, we see it working, and not only on the eyes, but on the whole body.
Well, let's for a moment go a little bit deeper. You're intriguing me about, first of all, what are some of the most noticeable symptoms? Let's start with symptoms and then let's go to cause. What are some of the most notable symptoms that we should be literally on the lookout for with macular degeneration?
So there's estimated about 11 million people who've been diagnosed with it in the United States, and they're probably at a stage where the symptoms would be some loss of vision, like central vision, can't read as small a detail print as you could before, and also potentially some distortion of vision, things, the shape changes as you look at it. And even before that, though, there's probably about 4 million people who haven't been diagnosed yet, who do have the earlier stages. And the first sign is often not diagnosed, not picked up, and that's decreased night vision. So if you're noticing, I'm not adapting to changes in brightness and lights at night, headlights bothering more, it could be other things too, but this is a common cause of decreased night vision.
All right, you're starting to talk about stuff that I'm starting to experience. So that's why I brought you on the show, and also why I'm signing up to work with you. I'm starting to have those things, and I know many family members. As a matter of fact, I don't think there's anybody here watching that does not have a family member who is not being touched by this. So you talked about symptoms. Let's talk about what is going on in the eyes that is causing this condition. What's happening? It's not just we're getting old, because they usually write that off and say, you're getting old. That's just the way it's going to be. What's really going on in there?
And why is it called age-related macular degeneration? It's the official name. Well, it implies that they don't know what's causing it, because age cannot be a cause. Age is time. Time is the context. It's a dimension of space-time. It's where we live, but it's like saying space is a cause. It's space related. Yeah, it's related to the central part of your retina, which actually, let's look at what makes that unique and what it would be the most sensitive to. The macula is where we have clear central vision. So that's unique to the retina. The retina itself has the highest metabolism of any tissue in the body. So the highest need for oxygen, for nutrients, for circulation, and the macula even more so than the rest of the retina. So it's the highest sensitivity to changes in metabolism and circulation and oxygenation and mitochondrial function, energy function in the cells. We know that degenerative conditions in general are very sensitive to oxygen, mitochondrial dysfunction, circulation. So those are the real keys that we need to look at. There's some other people leading the way in terms of research in this field, thinking outside the box of the standard approaches, which aren't really giving us answers that work. But one of the things that they've discovered is that the macula is also directly connected to the stomach meridian. Wouldn't have guessed that, right? And we see in terms of Oriental medicine, the stomach meridian is most sensitive to heavy metals. That's the typical toxic effect that we see affecting the stomach meridian. The stomach is all about absorbing minerals, right? The stomach acid is essential for absorbing our nutrient minerals, and the heavy metals compete with those. You know, lead takes the place of calcium, and mercury affects zinc metabolism because they have the similar shape, but they're heavier, they're bigger, and they get in where the nutrient minerals should be, and they block the function. So heavy metals and stomach meridian electrical function is very key. The eyes are fascinating to me for many reasons. You know, if we close our eyes, how much of our conscious world, our whole lighted world, you know, from seeing our local environment to seeing the stars in the sky disappears. It's maybe 85% of our consciousness is vision. And even in terms of the eye and the brain function, because vision doesn't happen in the eye, it starts in the eye, but we know it goes all the way to the visual cortex. And I haven't seen anyone else who has a good theory of how our visual space world gets projected out there from the visual cortex, but I do have a theory on that I believe answers a lot of the questions that we have in vision science.
Yeah, you brought up some really important points, and then also I'm impressed with the fact that your expertise covers not only optometry and the biology of the eye, but also your decades of experience in natural medicine and Oriental medicine and acupuncture. That's quite an arsenal. So help me understand, because it sounds like the macula is sort of like the canary in the mine shaft, where when we start to see that it's loaded with heavy metals or it's lacking in certain nutrients. You mentioned scar tissue and buildup of certain biological things. What are some of the things that are happening in there leading to macular degeneration, where it's not just you're old? You're pointing to that there are really hard causes that you've identified and are treating.
Yeah, and it's multifactorial, like most degenerative conditions, which is why there's no just here's the one answer, which Western science is pretty good at figuring out here's the one thing that's causing it. But when it's many things and those causes are varied from one person to another, that's where it gets more challenging. So, for example, the distortion in vision is caused by deposits in the retina that we call drusen, and they're the same exact kind of deposits that we see in Alzheimer's in the brain. So the relationship there, and we know in natural medicine, we call Alzheimer's diabetes type 3. So there's a relationship with sugar regulation. We know that about a third of damage in aging, even if you don't have diabetes or even pre-diabetes, there's a lot of damage that's done by sugar dysregulation. So avoiding refined sugars is a great thing to work at to help maintain even keel in the sugar regulation. And there's a lot that we can do to restore proper sugar regulation and even reverse some of that damage from what we call glycation. It's about a third of the damage in aging is considered to be from glycation. Again, even if you're not diabetic or pre-diabetic. So those deposits are mainly cholesterol. So it's not just about blood cholesterol levels. It's again about the circulation and being able to bring in nutrients, of which cholesterol is actually a nutrient that the cell needs if we're going to make a new cell. That's part of the cell membrane. We need it for other things like making hormones, which some of those could be the reasons even why cholesterol levels are high. So from a natural point of view, we don't necessarily just want to take a drug, a toxin that blocks the enzyme, that poisons the enzyme in the liver to make cholesterol. We want to look at, again, the underlying causes and balance those. But it's not just cholesterol. There's other things deposited there too. And one of those things is heavy metals, which again are one of the main toxins the body deals with. The body deals with a range of toxins and stresses. And one of the main ones, actually, 50% of the toxins in human tissues are actually the byproducts of stress. The stress hormones and stress neurotransmitters that if the tissue doesn't have adequate nutrition and circulation, it can't break those down and they build up. And so that's part of what builds up in the retina as well. I was seeing in various blinding eye diseases like glaucoma, which is actually what got me started researching all of this. When I was in my last year of training as an eye doctor, I found out if I just rely on Western medicine, drugs and surgery, I would be blind in my 40s because it doesn't stop the progression. It can only slow it down. So I just went full time into researching not only glaucoma, which I was facing, but macular degeneration and the whole range of blinding eye diseases to see what do we know, what can we learn? Because I was very interested in natural medicine. That's part of my background.
That's exactly what interested me in having you on the show. Is for most of us, we're seeing everybody sees these commercials now. What are my options? Well, maybe you could take these special vitamins that an optical company makes, and maybe that'll help slow down. I don't know. That's what they claim. Or there's some new drug that supposedly, if they inject it in your eye, it might possibly slow down macular degeneration. But it seems that you're onto something very important, and that is there are several underlying causes that can be identified and can be treated and can reverse some of the problems that an individual is facing, but at the same time, not just the macular degeneration. While you're treating them, you're actually, from what I understand, you're actually able to help the body, help our bodies come back into a state of balance that's going to affect not just a vision problem, but is going to affect our total body balance. Because again, you as a Chinese medicine, Oriental medicine specialist, we all understand, those of us who know about it or practice it, we know that everything is about bringing the body back into balance so it can do what it was created to do with all the wonderful tools it has, right? So, so that, that interests me as well. And that is, while you're treating this particular challenge, then aren't you also treating some of the other effects of imbalance that could lead us to happier, healthier life? Is that a good assumption?
Yeah, yes. And because we all again have not only different challenges in terms of what's the underlying cause, I like to say the eyes don't get sick on their own and they don't get healthy on their own. They need circulation, they need immune function, they need certainly nerve function. They're the only organ other than the heart that in Oriental medicine is directly connected to every single electrical circuit that we call meridians and vessels in the body. So it's electrically, again, it's the most active tissue electrically. It has the highest electrical potential of any tissue. It's like the solar panel that charges up the energy of the brain. And the brain and the liver turn out to have the biggest electrical charge difference, like the ends of the body battery. The brain negatively charged, the liver positively charged, because works with everything from the gut. It filters all the blood from the gut before it sends it to the rest of the body. So we're dealing with an energy system, we're dealing with an information system, we're dealing with a material, nutritional, metabolic system, and all of those are absolutely critical to visual function. You can't really understand it and restore it without supporting and understanding what the blockages may be, what the stresses may be at all of those levels. So we work with the whole person, but also because many people have different levels of ability to implement a full program or just a very simple program. Right now, most people will just be doing, say, an ARIDS type of supplement based on the studies that have been done from the Eye Institute, the National Eye Institute, which took like 5 years and 1,000 people with one particular formula to show, oh, it slows down the progression of the condition a little bit in some people, but it doesn't reverse it in anybody. And the most recent studies, another 5 years to the ARIDS 2 study with about the same formula. So the progression of the knowledge is so slow, and then the results are so minimal. The more recent studies show that it doesn't work at all in the early stages when you're first losing vision. You're already losing vision, and it doesn't work. You'd probably take it anyway, hoping that it might help. But it helps a little bit to slow it down in the intermediate stages, and that's about it. So, where I'm is based in Oriental medicine. In Germany in the 1950s, there were dentists who noticed that moved an infected tooth, in the upper jaw. That could be about 1 centimeter from the eye. That could affect eye problems. First thing he noticed was taking out a bad tooth, cleared up a knee problem that the person had, and he looked into it and discovered, oh, there's a connection of different meridians, electrical circuits that go through the different teeth that are then connected to different organs in the body. And so he studied Oriental medicine, became an acupuncturist. He actually continued on and became a medical doctor because he was looking at the health of the whole body, and he really wanted to understand the relationships. It's not just about the disease, it's about the relationships of the different parts of the body and how they work together, how they're connected together. And so he developed a technique where, with German electronics thinking, he said, for acupuncture, we should be able to measure the acupuncture points and know if that acupuncture point is too yin or too yang, if it's too high energy or too low energy, if it's inflamed or if it's degenerative. And he developed that technique, which I learned 40 years ago, and it's part of what helped me to turn around my vision loss and actually wound up saving my life by finding out the underlying causes. In my case, mercury toxicity was a major underlying cause. And so based on that approach, which we no longer have to work with people in person to measure the acupuncture points, other researchers and acupuncturists from Australia who studied the same methods that I did 40 years ago and was so fascinated like I was. And in his research, he looked at what are all the relationships and connections that the body is teaching me by basically communicating with the body, like a biofeedback, to see how everything's connected together. And then a patient of his who had been bedridden, who he got out of that state back to health, helped him put together the modern technology that we now have. That's the voice analysis that we're offering that looks at the frequencies in your voice, because there's information in the body in many forms. We can measure it on the skin with electroacupuncture, but we can now read it without you having to travel from your own home. You can use your computer or your phone, and with a 10-second voice sample, we can see about a 14-page interactive analysis online immediately. We'll have access to it to understand what's going on for you more than what we know. We'll want to know your symptoms and your medical history, any information we can get from your eye doctors. Very, very helpful to know more from the material physical point of view. But from an energetic point of view, we're going to begin to learn an awful lot just from that 10-second voice sample. And we'll actually give you lifetime access to that. So anytime, if you have a change in symptoms, that would be the first thing I recommend is do a 10-second voice sample. Let's see where the stresses are in which meridians, which body systems, which organs, and more. So you'll learn how to read that and how to interpret it. They've developed medicines based on that that'll be recommended based on your test, that they're now studying at University of California, San Diego, with tissue culture, so cells, so you don't even need a placebo control. It's cells, and they're seeing how the cells respond to the information medicine. They call them infoceuticals. And it's drops that you put in water. You stir it in. It has an electrical charge. It has information in it. So you don't use like a metal spoon, because that would discharge the electrical component. But when they take these drops and they dilute them at the level they would be for our cells in our own body, they're seeing within 2 or 3 days tremendous changes in how cells are functioning. Changes, for example, with one remedy that deals with cell metabolism, within about 2 days, they saw reproduction of the mitochondria in the cell. So actually doubling of the number of mitochondria. Now they doubled numbers, so they're half the size. And over time, then they'll grow into full-size mitochondria. So it's rapidly, over a period of a month or so, going to be increasing cellular energy production. In other cases, decrease of viral penetration into the cells, where it was a remedy that's designed energetically to stimulate the cell membrane protection against viral attack. And another case, they published a study where it's a reduction in reactive oxygen species, which has to do with oxidation. So it's improving the antioxidant status of the cell, which is about 2/3 of all aging-related degenerative changes in the cells.
You're bringing up the fact that you are connected to a number of research organizations, researchers, and practitioners. One of our viewers has asked, do you know Dr. Jerry Tennant? So you know. So there are doctors out there who are listening to you and listening to your viewpoint, and are out there helping people with macular degeneration using natural means.
I absolutely credit Dr. Jerry Tennant as one of my mentors. I learned a technique from him, which we still use, which is microcurrent therapy. We can balance the body. It's similar, if you've heard of TENS, which is about 1,000 times higher energy level. It'll actually stop pain signals. It does that by blocking nerve function. We can use a much smaller level of current, which will also have a tremendous effect on pain and on healing and many other functions. So microcurrent, we'll use it in a biofeedback technique, and that's who I studied it with. And he's also the researcher I mentioned earlier who discovered this connection of the stomach meridian directly to the macula of the eye. So he's on my long list of mentors, and he's a wonderful, wonderful doctor who, he was a leading eye surgeon who was doing the research on eye surgery when he found that by doing laser surgery on the cornea, he was exposed to some viruses that were in that cornea, got very, very sick. And like many doctors in holistic medicine, he found that he had no solutions until he started saying, well, let me try some things that people say work that are outside the box of what we're trained in school. And that's where he began to find his own healing. And he hasn't stopped. He's still going. He's a wonderful man. Yeah.
Great. And Jeannie, thank you so much for bringing up that question. Dr. Glen, I want to go through sort of the process and what people saw in, I did some posting. I always post to have people aware of the guests that I'm having on the show, and I've sent them over to your site, regeneratevision.com. But let's take a look at. I copied from your site and I made a couple of slides, and let's take a look at that. Let's go to that. And I need to press some more buttons. Always more buttons. Here we go. All right. I think we did. Here we go. So, for those of you who've seen my posts on Facebook, Instagram, I want to go through the programs that I researched that Dr. Glen is using. And then once I go through them, I'm going to open it up to questions. And it can be questions about what he's talked about so far. It can be questions about what he hasn't covered. It can be questions about these programs and products. But I wanted to make sure we cover this because he has set up a really powerful step-by-step process to get to, number one, educate us to what is going on inside our bodies, not just with macular degeneration, but with all aspects of eye health and many of the eye conditions that we are facing today. This is like a little mini master's degree in things that are going on in the body that affect our eye health and our overall health. And he's created this guidebook. And in addition, what he's done is to support you going through the guidebook. And I'm going to be honest, unlike everybody else, I download 100 guidebooks a month, right? And I don't get to read them all the way, but this one is important. So what Dr. Glen has done is he's created an email sequence into a little mini course. And what happens is when you go to regeneratevision.com, you will automatically be able to get a link to download the guidebook. And then you'll automatically, in a couple of days, start to receive one email every 2 days to where the email actually reviews what was in a particular chapter or particular section of the guidebook to help you, sort of like a cliff note, get the best out of it, get the most out of it. And I took it, I found it fascinating. I learned more than I expected to learn. And I really want to encourage all of you, if you have not already gone to regeneratevision.com, go there, get the guidebook, it's free. The email mini course is free, but it will start to help educate you about what's going on in the body and about what the different hopes and opportunities are for you to begin to move towards overall health and well-being, not only just in your eyes, but in every aspect of your health. So that's the first thing he talked about, and I wanted to put it on a screen. The second thing he talked about was this voice analysis. I just purchased it. We had a number of people ask about it. We've actually had one of the viewers today jump on it, and I'm interested to see what he's going to get, the results he's going to get. But Dr. Glen, could you talk a little bit about the voice analysis? How does it work? What kind of information can you get from it? And what do you do with that information that can lead to the next step?
Yeah, it's the simplest possible test. Once you get your account set up, it's a lifetime account, then you just push the button and count from 1 to 10 in a quiet background. If you're happy with it, if there's no dog barking in the middle of it, then just say yes, go ahead. And in seconds, you'll have access to about a 14-page report for each finding on the report, kind of like a lab report, from a blood test, except it's interactive. If you put your mouse over a given given finding, let's say it's saying there's stress in what they call the stomach integrator. Well, that's the stomach, that's their word for the stomach meridian. It's the epigenetics, the information flow of the stomach meridian at that point in time. Well, that we know that that's directly connected to the macula. If you put your mouse over that, if it shows a high score, a high stress score, would be a purple color. It's easy to see. So you put your mouse over that, and it'll immediately bring up a pop-up window that's going to explain it. And if you want more information, you can click on it, and it'll give you a whole page of even more detailed information about the stomach integrator, stomach meridian, what it's connected to, different organs and functions in the body. So it's a whole education in itself to the level that you're looking for. If you just want to know what are my stresses, you can, and what should I do about it within their system, you can go to the recommendations page at the end and they'll give you your top 5 recommended drops to put in your water. You put a drop in your water in the morning, you stir it in, you drink it. It's the simplest possible solution to improving health. They get about a 93% reduction in symptoms just with this system for whole person, whole body health issues. And it's very, very powerful. So we recommend, because we work with a lot of people who are very sensitive, and because the eye is very sensitive, we recommend a dosing system that's a little more cautious than their standard. And that's to start with 1 drop the first day. And if that's all good, it might be 1 remedy, or it might be 3 or 4 or 5 of these, 1 drop of each. If that's all good, no cleansing reaction or healing crisis, no increase in symptoms, no detoxification, then go to 2 drops the next day, and then 3 drops, and just gradually build up.
Okay, let's
amount is.
Let's dive a little deeper into that, because now you're talking about once they've had the voice analysis, right? And there's an incredible amount of information they are getting from that. The next step would be, well, first of all, that voice analysis, you're giving folks over a 20% discount on your site. Once they have the voice analysis, they have the opportunity then to work with you with a private consultation to interpret the voice analysis and then begin to create a custom treatment program for them. And your normal price for this is $597. I've seen doctors charge twice that. But you're offering people $400 off a private consultation for $197. And basically they're going to be able to take the data from the voice analysis, and you're going to be able to interpret specifically for them. This isn't a one size fits all, one paint across takes care of everything. We're all individuals and unique. You're going to be able to help each individual uniquely determine what they need, when they need it, and how to do it. Am I correct?
Yes, and how that will not just include the voice analysis. That's like the first test. If you go to your retinologist, your retinal specialist, and they have you do a blood test, maybe they want to know, what your blood levels are of some different chemistries that might be related, risk factors. So this is just that's one test, and we're going to take that information in. We're also going to ask you to give us as much information as you can about yourself, your symptoms, your history. There'll be an online form, an application, so you can give us your data, and we can put that into our clinical database along with the voice data. And then I'm going to run my own test, which is another system I've been working on in parallel to this researcher for the last 40 years. So we're going to do our own test that you don't have to send any other samples or anything. You'll be sending your photograph, you'll be sending your history, your information. I'm actually going to test myself as what we call a surrogate, where I'm now thinking about you and your situation and asking my body how it reacts in your situation. And it's called surrogate testing, which has a fascinating origin. And that's when we do the electrodermal testing on a mother, it shows what's happening in her body. But as soon as her baby wakes up and is in her lap, well, we can't test the baby's acupuncture points because they don't like to sit still for that until they're about 6 years old. So we found that we can test the mother, and she shows a completely different energy pattern because she's empathic. She is now she's in mother mode, right? She's thinking about her baby, she's feeling her baby, and her body is now resonating with what's going on in her baby's body. It's just how we work as human beings. So as a medical empath for the last 35 to 40 years, I've gotten extremely good and fast at that. And we'll be able to say a lot more than what we can see in just the voice analysis, including, for example, let's say that stomach meridian showed up on the voice analysis. We'll be able to tell, well, is that actually a source of stress, or is it an effect, like more of a symptomatic of some other stress, like a heavy metal toxicity? Is that infoceutical that they recommend on the voice analysis? That's a good guess, and that's how they talk about it's a high likelihood that that would be therapeutic, but we'll be able to tell, is it actually what you need as a therapy? Is it what's going to move your body forward as fast as possible on its healing mission? Because your body's always healing. I've only ever experienced one of my form of testing that showed no stress, absolutely no stress, no remedy I could find that would improve anything. It happened to be, I was being tested by my brother's wife, who is a physiatrist, which is a medical specialist in rehabilitation. And she has horses, and she loves her horses, and she's a physiatrist for people, but she's also a healer for her horses. And she had a horse that was very sick, but she didn't understand what I do, didn't really trust it. And she wanted to do a double-blind test, to have me test her horses. She sent one sample that was for her sick horse, her injured horse, and another that was for her prize stallion, and labeled A and B, not telling me which is which. And the test one, it's like, I've never seen this before. Well, that was the prize stallion. It was absolutely energetically perfect. It was summertime, out in a big field eating grass in New York. So it was a very happy horse.
So you mentioned something important that caught my attention, and that is they're going to be able to go to their eye doctors that they trust, and if they don't have one, you have a network of people you might be able to recommend. But in addition to the voice analysis, by them bringing the records that their eye specialist has, or the testing and things they've already done, and possibly you might recommend other tests that they do. And, a lot of these tests are covered by insurance, right? So that's helpful also, in that you are open and willing to communicate and give information they can give to their eye doctors, and take information from their eye doctors to help them move towards balance and healing. So I thought that was very important to let people know.
Just so you know, it's not absolutely essential. If you feel, I'm not comfortable asking my doctor if he'll send information to Dr. Swartwout in Hawaii. If you want to just tell us what you know, what's important, that's perfectly fine.
Sure.
On the other hand, if you have a doctor who'd like to communicate with us and work with us, we're very happy to develop that relationship. If you don't have a doctor, as Michael is saying, if you don't have someone that you really feel good about and feel comfortable with, that they're the right person for you, I've specifically researched the 100 top cities around the country. Who is there, looking at their credentials, looking at their background, what they've studied beyond what they learned in school, that they're showing me that they are interested in actually improving health and vision of the eyes. So I know at least there's a good first person to talk to. And if they're not the person, sometimes they're not. They say, no, this is not within my specialty, but they will know, and they're in the right mindset to think about health and healing and improving function. That's the key to me. So hear that, those referrals, if there's a referral that you'd like.
Okay. Now you mentioned product. And so if we've gone from the education to the voice analysis to a private consultation with you, then you're going to be able to recommend a series of products. These are products that you have researched and formulated and know how they work, how to be successful with them. So you would then be able to recommend and assign the proper products at the proper time, at the proper dose, and then follow them through to get to the level that they're looking for. Is that a correct assumption?
Yes, and we work with a lot of people that have different levels of need and also different levels of resources. So you may not have a budget for the full and best possible program that we could do, and that's fine as well. Know that that's available, that's there, and we have ways that we can even help work together with you to improve your budget for that, because we're looking to get the word out about this. So we're developing an affiliate program. So if you have other friends or can get us in touch with doctors in your area who are interested, that can really help us to help you even more in terms of we're budgeting to help those who help us. But if your budget is very limited, it may just be a question of which are the key supplements, remedies that we've developed that are working the best for the specific symptoms of the eye condition that you have, for dissolving the deposits in the retina that are causing the distortion, for what's the best thing for improving the circulation to the retina. There's other therapies that we'll recommend and point you to things that you can implement in your own home to have the best effect and not have to pay for doctor's visits. And you can learn very easily. You can relax for 15 minutes twice a day while you're listening to music or something. You can actually restore 40 years of aging loss of circulation throughout the whole body, including the eyes. So that's huge for age-related issues. It's an investment, but we can go over all those kinds of options. What makes the most sense to give the best and quickest effect for you. You can start out with, you may just want to try the supplements, the remedies that are specific for the macular wellness remedies and drusen dissolve remedies, and ones that do an oil change for the retina. And so we have several levels of investment on those that fit your budget without having to pay for certain more services and the whole body program. On the other hand, you might try that and say, I'm not seeing the results I was hoping for. There must be something else going on. And with that initial consultation, you already know what that is. And we can list, here's the other remedies you should add to that program to support the rest of the body to heal the eyes. So it's an individualized approach. And that's really, I believe, why we see the kinds of changes of irreversible conditions, whether it's the eyes or the rest of the body, that aren't generally seen, because we're asking your body specifically what it's trying to heal right now and what natural therapies it wants, it will use to speed up that healing. And we call the program accelerated self-healing, because it's your body that heals itself. If you cut yourself, that Band-Aid doesn't heal it, and aspirin doesn't heal it. The body heals itself. It's always trying to heal, and we can speed that up.
Great. At this point, I really want to open it up to specific questions from the folks who showed up tonight. I'm really grateful to folks that showed up on Zoom. Grateful for you folks over on Facebook as well. If you'd like to ask a question, could you please, raise your little golden hand, going down on Zoom, down at the bottom of Zoom, and, clicking on the button to raise your hand. Just like Jocelyn just did. So Jocelyn, you're our first question. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's an honor, I think, to be here tonight. It's fascinating, Dr. Glen, really fascinating what you're bringing. I have several questions, and I'll try to go fast with them. You brought the explanation to one of my cat. I had a cat, it's an interesting cat, black cat, who had been bitten next to the tail of the back. And when I went to the vet, it was a kind of naturopathic veterinarian. He said to me that he was just about to lose one eye, and he did lose it because of the biting and the kind of toxic he had gotten from that wild cat that was at the tail, which is very sensitive. So it's the first time that I hear something that confirms what that vet had said to me. So there's, as you said, Meridian direct link. He lost one and he almost lost a second. My second question is about electromagnetic and radiation. You didn't speak about that tonight. I would suppose that this has also an effect on the macula and the retina. Okay, maybe we can talk about that one-on-one later on, or maybe you have a few things to say about that. I would be interested to hear.
As soon as you have another question.
Yeah, the other question was about the surgery. You said that the surgery didn't stop the progression, only slows it down. So that means that people that have all those surgeries, that say that they're gonna see forever now without glasses. That doesn't seem to be reality. After a while, the degeneration is going to start kicking again. So
Yeah.
maybe that was the other one, and the last one is about how long going the special be on for us. A very practical question. So these are my questions.
All right. Okay. So the first question was about your cat. And so what I wanted to point out there is with the voice analysis system, the voice testing is actually fairly new. Just the past few years, they've developed that. And it's wonderful. Before that, we relied on a little instrument that you'd put your hand on, and they still have that. And you could put that, they also have developed their software, even the interpretation, and we have access to that for cats, dogs, and horses. It'll work with other animals, but they have the specific reporting where it'll show the meridians on that animal, like what's happening. So for about $100, you can, if you want to test an animal or a child under age 6, we recommend that edition. It works on Macintosh computers. It works on iPhones, and inexpensive. It's good to know. Also, if somebody's in a coma, a person who's nonverbal, you could do that. So if you can't do a voice analysis, there is a way around that that's inexpensive, one-time cost. So that's number one. And I could tell you lots of stories about animal healings. Animals and children tend to heal a lot faster than us here.
Yeah.
We've accumulated challenges and stresses and damage that our body was trying to heal it at the time. But even, let's say a person has hepatitis and then they get over it. But you ask in their history, how have you been since there? Did you ever get back to the same level of liver health and energy function and digestion? And it's like, no, so these things never got back to where they were. But we can go back and heal those things, tending to work from the more recent stresses, more recent accumulation. It's like archaeology. We're digging up deeper and older challenges that didn't get healed and actually healing them. My father had an appendix out when he was 6 years old. When he was 66, that appendix scar was still red. It was very raised. It was uncomfortable, angry, blackheads. It was toxic. And yet, with the work that we do, that went flat in about 6 months in his case. And our work gets faster as we go along. So probably today it would take less, but no more blackheads, no more redness, no more inflammation after 60 years of not changing. So we call this in homeopathy, we call it retracing, going back and healing. I like to say that healing is time travel, and that it's also spiritual development, because healing it's not, I like to say it's not for sissies. There are sometimes processes in the healing process that are not always 100% comfortable and easy. We call it healing crisis. For perfect example, and when you understand this one, you'll get that there's many different ways that this can show up. But in cancer research, there's over 3,000 cases of what they call spontaneous remission. Well, it's about as spontaneous as macular degeneration is age caused. It's not age caused, it's related. Well, this is related to spontaneity in the minds of the observer if you don't look deeper and understand that there's always a high fever, there's always a bacterial infection. That can only happen, just like that bacteria, they can only diagnose by putting it in a certain growth medium, a certain petri dish in the lab. We've created the petri dish, the terrain we call it in medicine, the conditions for growth of that bacterium. Those conditions for growth of bacteria are actually the same conditions for the remission of cancer. It's where the bacteria is making enzymes that are helping to break down the tumor, and the immune system is also making enzymes that are breaking down the tumor at the same time. And you can have metastatic cancer that's gone in 3 days, sometimes longer, but that's a typical response. And over 200 different species of bacteria. It's not specific bacteria, it's the terrain, the conditions.
Yeah. And a lot of this information Dr. Glen has included in his guidebook. And also then your testing and your private consultation will get to the bottom of it. Your last question, Jocelyn, I'll answer quickly. The special pricing on the website is going to be available at least another 30 days. And, we could extend it, but, within the next 30 days, I'd recommend people take advantage of that. So thank you, Jocelyn. Jeannie, I want to take your question and then Nancy.
Before, just
Go ahead.
real quick, on the electromagnetic stress, absolutely. That's why the first book that I published generally to the public, other than all these ones about eye diseases that I was using in my practice, but I published electromagnetic pollution solutions in about 1989, because I learned that there about 1 out of 3 patients in European biological medicine, which I was studying and would save my life and save my vision, 1 out of 3 people didn't heal something that they could potentially heal once you deal with the electromagnetic stress. And today we have 1 quadrillion times more EMF exposure from man-made sources, from stress sources, than we had 10 years ago when we already had Wi-Fi and cell phones. So yes, it's a very important issue, and definitely
We'll
part
talk
of
about it.
on our mind in the process.
Yep.
The retina is an electromagnetic receptor.
Yeah. Okay, Jeannie, you had a
Hi.
question. Jeannie?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
So you already answered the first question, was how much longer, and that so you've already, how much longer the sale's going to go. So I
Next
appreciate
30
you
days.
answering that. Yes. Doctors, how do you say your name? Swartout?
I
Swartout?
ask people to say Dr. Glenn. It's easier, but
Okay,
it's
perfect.
Swartwout in
Dr.
America. It comes from Netherlands. Then they would say Swartwout, which means black forest.
Swartwout. Okay. Dr. Glenn, so I'm just curious, what kind of microcurrent technology are you using these days? Are you using Dr. Tennant's or somebody else's?
Well, I studied with Dr. Tennant before he developed his system, and I would 100%, if somebody comes to me and they're using his system and they're working with him, I would say, absolutely, go with that. That's perfect. What I use is, and I would love to find the time to study with him again and get up to date with his current techniques, because I know he's come a long way and he's doing absolutely fabulous work. But no, I'm not using his system currently. I'm using actually the original Russian technology that was developed, I think, in the 1960s with their space program to treat the
Skinar?
Mhm.
Skinar? Are you using Skinar then?
Yep, Skinar.
Yeah.
Skinar. So it's a biofeedback system, which I love that about it. So
Right.
it's what the body's response is to the signal and adjusting it accordingly. So if
Right,
it's
right.
inflamed, it's going to bring the energy level down. If it's degenerative, it's going to bring the energy level up. Yeah.
Did you know Dr. Tennant when he was actually working for Skinar?
But that's when I was
That's how
trained.
you met him.
When
Okay.
he,
And have you ever heard of some, I've probably bought around $70,000 worth, which there's some pieces that you can buy one piece for 70,000, but I bought smaller pieces. I had Dr. Tennant's equipment. I actually sold it because for a variety of reasons. His equipment is great. Skinar is a little bit harder to use, but there's another piece of Russian equipment that I just recently purchased after swearing I'd never buy another piece again. And Michael DeLuca, it happens. Michael DeLuca, you may be familiar with Ann Archer Butcher's story.
Yeah, yes, I am. And I'm actually utilizing that piece of equipment myself.
So you
But
bought it? You bought that
yeah, I
equipment?
did. I actually bought the last one made outside of the US, and now it's being made in the US. But Jeannie, I'd really like to get back to other people's questions, and we can talk about hardware and things offline. But
So give me just a quick overview of your supplements. What makes them different? Because everybody seems to have supplements. Why are yours so effective, doctor?
yes, and first, one sentence. please share with me your experience with the equipment you have, because
Yes.
this is how I learned. I'm not.
Yeah.
Oh, the
Well,
monocore,
I
it's
am
the
open.
Yeah,
monocore,
but
yeah.
yes, yeah, but
Very,
could we,
very
You can do that later. You can give,
yeah,
you can give
could
him.
we do that? Could we do that offline? We're getting
Yeah,
ready to
Sure.
end.
that
And
I'll
I really want to get other questions. So Jeannie, let's do that offline. And Dr. Glenn can talk more in detail about the supplements and treatments, but I really want to get other people's
Okay.
questions answered. Okay.
Yeah, I'll make it as fairly brief about the remedies. So I was getting these results of reversing people who are already blind. You know, the first one was 35 years ago. I'd written the book 5 years before that, and had a long distance client who was blind in both eyes with wet macular degeneration. I worked with her for a few months. She rejected the laser treatment that was what was recommended at that time to cauterize the leaking blood vessels and bleeding blood vessels in her retina. And her Harvard-trained retinologist wrote me a letter afterwards and said, this is remarkable. I've never seen it. I've never heard of a case like this, but the scar tissue is decreasing. The bleeding has stopped, even though we didn't do the laser. And she has regained functional vision to where she could pass a driver's test. And this was a woman in her upper 80s. So I knew at that point, you know, we were onto something. And, you know, still fascinated by learning more and more as we go along. But so this was with what was on the market commercially, the best professional quality products on the market, whatever I could find, whatever I could source, and testing individually to see what is her body like, what does her body respond to. So seeing in that type of testing in Germany, they say that doctors who do that kind of testing, in 1 year of testing of practice, they gain the equivalent of 10 years of clinical experience, because you're asking the body questions and you're getting a lot of answers, that was a good idea, but no, it didn't work for this person. So about 10 years ago, I just ran into the end of my rope as far as trying to find the best products on the market. It came with an ingredient, French lilac, which is how they make metformin, which is used in anti-aging medicine. But we just heard in the news a few months ago, oh, metformin has a carcinogen that's not supposed to be in there. It's really bad. It's like, oh my goodness. Well, this is why we're looking for the purest, cleanest, most concentrated sources of the nutrients and herbs that we can get, and then putting them into the cleanest, most comprehensive supplements. You'll see on our label sometimes 2 or 3 dozen ingredients, because we're trying to support and stimulate a certain function like the macular health. And there's a lot of good research out there in the medical literature on this herb and this nutrient. And so compiling all that and seeing what can we put together as clean and concentrated as possible. So like typically 1 capsule a day is a therapeutic dose of all of these things together. An example would be when we have ginseng in a formula. If you're going to take ginseng, just the raw herb, you have to have a whole capsule for that dose of that for that time of day.
Yeah. Dr. Glenn,
7 milligrams in there with dozens of other ingredients to get that effect. So that's a good answer.
Good. We're running out of time, so I really want to. Yes, Jeannie. The website is regeneratevision.com. Regeneratevision.com, and I'll make sure that I connect you with Dr. Glenn offline. And he can direct you to, he has a special website that talks about in detail his remedies and such. We don't have time to go into every single remedy and what's in it. But thank you for that question. I do want to get to Nancy. Nancy, you had a question?
Yes, I did. Thank you. My question is this. A number of years ago, I had cancer and I had some extreme chemo.
Mhm.
And since that time, last time I had chemo was 6 years ago. They stopped it early. And since that time, my eyes have been what I call funky. So I have been to ophthalmologists, optometrists, wonderful people, and they say, what do you expect? You had chemo and you're getting older. And they're like, well, you have minor this or minor. They don't really know what's going on. So do you think I might be a good candidate, someone like that, for your program? Because my gut feeling is something got I got some strong toxins in my body.
Yes, and that's a perfect example of where, my recommendation, if you can do it, would be to do a higher level program with us. And that would start with the consultation, start with the voice analysis, giving us that information, but then a consultation where I'm going to test you individually, knowing your history and seeing what are the stresses that your body's ready to heal now. This is, you have a deep underlying stress. Your body may be trying to heal the effects of the residue of that chemo exposure now. It may not be. Just an example would be that we see a lot. If somebody comes to us and they just got diagnosed with cancer, and hopefully they're not going to do radiation, chemo, and surgery, and even biopsy, which has a 90% chance of spreading whatever's there because you're cutting through the tumor and the blood vessels. But that's up to the person and up to their relationship with their oncologist. But often they'll say, I'm so surprised because I'm the healthiest person I know. I am so shocked that I have cancer. I didn't even have a flu or a fever for the last 20 years. And that in the history is a clue that can be a sign of a low energy immune system. It didn't have the energy that it takes a lot of energy to produce a fever. It's not produced by the bacteria or the virus. It's the immune system's response to it to increase our metabolism. So in any case, we'll see whether that's the first step directly or how it shows up, what your body's ready to heal as a first step. And it will probably take a few months to get some of the goals that you're looking for. But my hope would be, and my expectation would be, is possible to restore energy levels, immune function, vision, and some of those aging and degenerative related effects. On average, we see reversal of about a year of aging and degeneration effects in 1 month of a full program, which will run $1,000, $1,500 with the testing. Now you're getting a $400 discount with this, but we'll be able to tell you specifically what remedies and doses, timing. It's very specific.
Yeah. Nancy, you've been a long time member of our family here, and you've supported our programs and such. I would like to do something for you, and that is I've purchased a few of the voice analysis tests. So I would like to donate to you a voice analysis with Dr. Glen, and then you can work with him on scheduling. If you want to move forward and schedule a private consultation with him, you can do that. But I'd like to gift you with that voice analysis. I know what you've been through, and you are a fighter and you are a warrior, and you're part of our family, and we love you. And so I want to gift you that voice analysis, and we can talk about moving forward from there. So thank you. And we love you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I know we're going to love you too.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it's an honor to be on your team. So
yeah,
we'll do what we can to make that work for you as well.
Great. John, you had your hand up.
Yes. Hi, Mike. Thank you for facilitating this. And Doc, thank you for sharing your knowledge with us. We're all here because we know that the body can be returned to homeostasis.
Yeah.
And we just need to find the way that works for us. And there's, the way I look at it is our body vibrates at a specific health frequency. And all the toxins and the heavy metals and all the Western meds that we take, is moving that dial a little to the right or a little to the left. And we need to get the dial back so that it's a clear, true vibration coming through our bodies of health. So right now I'm on Restasis for dry eye. And I'd like to know, and they say it's a lifetime med that you have to take. I would like to get off of that med and not really even substitute it with something else. Just get my body into that homeostasis to where it functions and it heals itself, because the body can heal itself, I believe.
I'm with you.
Okay, so I'd like to know if I can get off some of these meds, like Restasis, and just have the body work.
One of the books that I published is called Dry Eye Relief, and it's all about that. We have specific remedies geared to that. Again, there's individual differences in what's needed for a full healing of, as you say, the homeostasis. So we can work with you at whichever level feels right to start, whether it's to, we could do a consultation, we'll know what step you're at right now, what your body's trying to heal,
Okay.
and certainly introduce you to the appropriate dry eye remedies and whole body support for that healing process.
Beautiful. Thank you.
One of the clues to me when a doctor says, when you ask the doctor, how long will this take to heal me? They say, oh no, you'll be on this for life unless you complain of the side effects, and then we'll either treat those with another drug that you'll be on for life, or if it's bad enough, we'll try another drug that's maybe worse, but might work better.
Right.
It's not
Exactly.
healing. Yeah, we're all about healing.
Yeah.
So John, you've enrolled in both the I see you told me you enrolled in both the voice analysis and the private consultation. So that's where you're going to be able to talk in real detail with Dr. Glen and get moving on that. So we're really looking forward to hearing from you. Please share with me the results you're getting. I'll share what I'm getting, because I'm starting the program as well.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
Thank you, John, and thanks for supporting this.
The most beautiful thing about real healing the root causes, is that the healthier we are, not only it increases longevity, but it decreases suffering. So we live longer and better till time to move on. So that's what we all want.
Exactly. Thank you.
Okay, Elizabeth, you've been so patient. Thank you so much. You have a question for Dr. Glen.
Yeah, it's one of the more practical kind of questions, Dr. Glen.
Sure.
My mother is also on this call. She does have macular degeneration, now in both eyes. So I'm interested in the program for her, but also for myself as well, for just more general issues. But I'm curious, if one purchases your consultation and then the full program, for how long do you give your personalized assistance? Because as you say, healing is an ongoing process.
Yes.
And there's layers upon layers to do.
Our standard program is 1 month in 1 month segments, because what we found is what we find that your body's trying to heal with the right support, it's going to be typically done with that in 1 month. And then it's the intelligence in the body is going to configure its healing approach. And then we can test at that point, or when you're toward the end of the month, we'll test and see now what's next. What is the next thing to heal? You'll get, like I say, reversal of a year of change in 1 month. So that's very significant. And you'll need different remedies that second month. If you're just doing some remedies specifically targeted for, maintaining and potentially improving the macular function, you can be on that program longer term, because we're not changing the underlying fundamentals. But if you're doing a full body program that we're going to design in that consultation, whether you implement it at that point as a whole, or you can go step by step, here's step 1, step 2, if some people need to do, that either because they can't afford the whole, all the remedies all at once, or maybe they can't handle just taking that many remedies at once, or more often it would just be the few people who are just so sensitive. Let's say they have a heart condition. I have a man with a heart condition one time where his heart rhythm would go off by so many different, any kind of stress. And so I didn't want our program, even though we know what his body needs, there can be healing crisis, cleansing reactions. We want to know what each remedy, each stress layer, as we treat that, as we balance that, is there any cleansing reaction? Get him adjusted by what we call titration, starting with a low dose, like I mentioned with the drops. Start with a low dose, introduce a little at a time, see how your body adapts to that. Okay, that's all good. Now we can add the next layer of treatment, and the next layer. So it's individualized application. of the same approach, but in general, a 1 month period, if a person has to start one layer at a time, it might take them 6 or 8 weeks to go through that 1 month program, and we'll give them full support all through that. And that includes if you have a healing crisis or a cleansing reaction, any kind of change in symptoms, you want to know what's happening. My body's doing this. Am I just getting the flu that the other people have, and do I need something for that? If there's a change during that period, we'll actually reevaluate. It'll usually be a very simple, very quick test and say, oh, here's what's happening. Maybe you need to decrease the dosage of one remedy because your body's cleansing a little too fast, or you need to increase the dosage of one of them to help support drainage, or you need this one new remedy because now you've gotten to another layer where there's something new happening, maybe from the environment or maybe deeper from the body.
So if I understand correctly, it could be a series of repeated voice tests and private consultations.
Yes.
along.
Yes. Yeah. We can do our testing without the voice test, but it's so wonderful and so easy to do. We're really trying to get everybody in the habit of, you can do that test whether or not you want a consultation. If you want the consultation, you have to let us know so that we're going to set that up and get back to you when we have the results, and set up time to talk together on Zoom or phone, or it could be just email if that's your preference. But yeah.
Okay.
So I wanted to say one thing that some of our clients are finding is that they love doing a voice test when they don't need a consultation from us, but we have a woman who every time she's going to go to her acupuncturist or to her massage therapist, she'll do the voice scan within a day of that session and bring the results to show them. It started with working with her massage therapist, which she was getting great results with, doing really good work. And the first time the massage therapist looked at it, she said, "That's amazing. It's showing all of the areas that I've been finding to work on you, plus a couple others. I'm going to be able to look into those now." So it's really very accurate and very, very helpful.
Great. Elizabeth, does that answer your questions?
I think so. Yeah.
Good.
I think
All right.
so.
Well, thank you. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for your questions. And let me know how your mom is doing.
Okay.
Does your mom
Yeah,
have
I will.
macular degeneration? Is she getting injections in her eyes?
No, she's not getting injections.
Great.
She had dry in one eye, and now she has it in the other eye as well. And she's finding vision is becoming, more challenging. She's actually on the call. I don't know if she wants to speak up or not.
I just asked because
Mom?
we do have plenty of people with wet macular degeneration that over time are able to have more time between the injections. And then we'll hear, like recently we heard from one that her retinologist looked in her eye this time and was shocked, literally said, "I'm shocked," because he's never seen this before. They converted back to dry, which is the more stable form. And yeah, we love to shock the eye doctors.
Great.
Okay. Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you, Dr. Glenn. Okay.
Welcome.
Any other questions? No other questions. Okay, then I
Is that your mom who's on the iPhone?
Yeah. No, but I have a question.
Okay.
okay.
Okay, so I've been diagnosed with macular degeneration. My mother, her identical twin sister, and my grandmother all went blind. I've been degenerating, but I've been on the medical medium program for the last 3 years. It has helped me.
Good.
I'm looking for my next step. I am ready to sign on.
Great.
I'm ready for all the help I can get. But my simple question was, what is the best way to detox from the heavy metals?
Well, we're going to ask your body. It might depend on what metal and where it is in the body and what your other systems do or where they're at. We have an oral chelation product I developed that's going to clean it out of the blood vessels. You might or might not need that. And some people will be sensitive to that. So we got to maybe take it on and off because it's got to get out the kidneys. And the kidneys, if they're trying to process too much at once. You give it a day or two off to clear that, and then do more. But that might not be what you need. Glutathione is very important. We've got a glutathione synergy product that's wonderful. Mercury is the most symptomatic of all the heavy metals. That's typically the worst one, the main one, as it was for me. And then sometimes there's another sulfur combination of organic sulfur compounds that'll help to get it out of different parts of the cell. Glutathione being the main one. We've got another specific mercury detox drink powder. So your body can tell us.
Yeah, but again, all of that is gonna depend on doing an analysis to get data on you.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
good. Yep.
Yeah.
Good.
Great.
I'm in.
Well, keep us posted.
Yeah. All right.
All right.
Look
Thank
forward to
you.
working.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
It's gonna be fun.
Yeah.
The most fun part is the results.
Yes.
I'm ready.
Yes. Oh, great. And you have the website, regeneratevision.com.
I've got it.
All right. Can't wait to see you join up with Dr. Glenn and hear what you've done.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Okay. Veronica, you had your hand up.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mike and Dr. Glenn, for getting us so close to this. I have been suffering from vision problem for over maybe 17 years. I worked using the microscope for so long a time, and I think that is where the origin of my vision problem. And the first consultation, just like John said, oh, just put on the glasses and this will be corrected in the next 2-3 years. But this is me wearing glasses and changing glasses for more than 20 years now. So I think I'm really gonna be a candidate to sign in to follow up with the treatment, because honestly, I don't feel comfortable wearing glasses, and all the time I'm trying to adjust to look at people and to read. I'm really grateful for this program. And the funny question that I want to ask, this is, you talked about regeneration vision. And if I followed you up from the beginning, this doesn't end up only correcting the vision, but it corrects many other things in the body. And it doesn't matter whether, no, it doesn't talk about age. So the funny question I'm asking is, the women will laugh. So those of us who are of the menopause age, do you think this regeneration can also affect our reproduction? Can it make a woman become pregnant after after menopause?
Well, not all by yourself. Otherwise, they'd be making religions about you, but it can certainly it can certainly help your body balance in other ways.
Thing. A woman could go through menopause and potentially have more cycles restored if the endocrine system is rejuvenated. That I don't know. It's certainly not something I would promise or say I have a whole lot of experience with. I'll give you one example of an amazing experience that I had that comes to mind. It was with a show dog. People had bought a show dog from Australia. They had him here in Hawaii, and it couldn't keep the litter to term. It would lose the pregnancy. So that happened several times. They heard about us, and we tested. We designed a program for the dog. It actually was mainly for psycho-emotional stress that showed up for the dog around pregnancy and giving birth. And the dog responded very well. It was able to get pregnant right away and keep the litter to term. The personality of the dog became more relaxed. And so it's a very interesting case. And we said, what do you know about when this dog was born? about that litter and the mother and that whole experience, because that seemed to be the information we were getting from the animal. And so they said, well, we don't know. We got it from Australia, but we can check with the people that we bought it from. And they checked in, and the information that came back said, well, that's funny you should ask, because, and was here this a lot of times, funny you should ask. This was the only one of the litter that survived. The mother and all of the other puppies died. So, well, doesn't that make a lot of sense that that would be a traumatic experience associated with pregnancy and birth? It's like, oh my God, I'm going to die. I can't do this. And in 1 month, one program, that was cleared. Again, animals tend to respond very quickly, like young children. They're a little bit simpler in many cases. So, with a 17-year history of the vision issues, it might be a deeper, older thing, but from the sounds of it, the discomfort, it's not just an optical issue of we corrected your vision, now it's clear, you're fine, but we're not trained as eye doctors to think of what else could be going on. Is there some underlying stress or toxicity? And that's what your body will tell us.
Great. All right. Well, we are rounding out to the last few minutes of the show here. Wanted to thank everybody for being here. Certainly want to thank Dr. Glen for joining us all the way from Hawaii. I want to just review one more time his program with you. Right. So kind of going in reverse here. So what we have to start with, let's start with this. Okay, so just to review, this is sort of the bus route to getting to regeneration of your vision. It's not a guarantee. We cannot guarantee that by law. What we can say is with the right education, the right testing, and the right protocols, we can certainly help the body do what it was designed to do. So again, if you folks who are interested, if you go to regeneratevision.com, register to get the free guidebook. You will have an email that'll allow you to download that free guidebook, and it's like a textbook. You will also be getting emails, one every other day. One every other day, it'll take you through each section of the guidebook, but study that guidebook, read it, right? Then from there, you'll have the opportunity as well to get the special voice analysis. And again, this is 20% off the normal price. You do that, you'll get a link to go right in and do the analysis. It'll go right into Dr. Glen, and they'll be able to start working with that. If after that you want to pursue a private consultation to get a customized treatment protocol for where you are right now, you can do that, and you'll save $400. Dr. Glen has given a special price of only $197 for that consultation. And once you're in the consultation, after Dr. Glen has worked with you and after he's had the results from your testing and all of that good stuff, then he can begin to recommend a custom treatment package and protocol where you can slowly start to deal individually with the things that are creating the challenge, creating the imbalance, and get yourself back in balance. So again, thank you, Dr. Glen, not just for being on the show tonight, but also for all you've done those decades and decades, the thousands of people's lives you've impacted, the thousands of people's lives whose health you have had an incredible, impact on. You're someone who is dedicated, like I am, to serving the world. And I hold a very special place in my heart for people who are dedicating their lives to serving. You're part of our family now. And We really appreciate you being here. So I want to say thank you again to everyone who joined us on Zoom. Thank you to everyone who joined us on Facebook. Thank you again, Dr. Glenn, all the way from Hawaii. I love you all. I'm so concerned that you have the best life, the best quality of health, the best all around health and well-being. And we'll do whatever we can to bring amazing people like Dr. Glenn to you on our Sunday shows. And again, regeneratevision.com is Dr. Glenn's website. And for those of you who have friends and family who could not watch tonight, either on Zoom or on Facebook, this recording will stay on my Facebook page. So if you are my Facebook friend, you'll be able to come on and watch it. If you're not, please become my Facebook friend. And then you'll get to see all the incredible posts and all the incredible recordings of all the shows we've done in the last few months. So please look me up on Facebook, become a Facebook friend. If you have a problem finding me on Facebook or you're not on Facebook, send me an email, yourninesteps, your9steps@gmail.com, your9steps@gmail.com, and I will be happy to get you connected. Again, so thank you all. Love you all. Have a great night. Have a great week. Have a great life. Have great health. And we will see you on our next show. So please take care.